2. Welcome to the Looking Forward Show. Jeff Abramowitz here, and I am so excited to be here. You are listening to Philly Cam Radio WPPM. They'll be aired tomorrow, but you're watching Philly Cam TV. We're live streaming on Xfinity 66 and 966, on Vios TV 2930, Roku, Apple TV, and YouTube. And I am excited about our show today. So welcome to Looking Forward. We were here last 2 weeks ago, and we're back on the show. Today is a special edition because we are in the midst of WPPM Fest, People-Powered Media, and we're celebrating a community that cares. And we have some unbelievable rock stars on today because they are all about caring in the community. We're starting off a great friend of ours who's been on our show time and time again since we've been airing the show several years ago on radio. Lou Narvaez, who is from Pennsylvania Corrections, District Director of Probation and Parole, is here. Shujay Moore from Milwaukee's fame is going to be in the house today with us as well. Gina Mencarelli and Michael Butler from ICJ, an unbelievable organization, Institute for Criminal Justice or Community Justice, is going to be on. And we're going to wrap it up today with Dominic Sampson pulling up with Unite Us, going to be telling all us about our Reunite Us campaign that's going on in Philadelphia. So I am really excited about the show. Before we begin, I just want to give a few shout outs, a few things that have been happening over the last few weeks. The first is, we congratulated Secretary George Little for taking office here at the Department of Corrections in Pennsylvania. And also kudos to our outgoing Secretary, Secretary Wetzel, for a job that got the ball starting, and we're hoping that Secretary Little will be able to keep pushing it forward. And also want to remind everybody that the Philadelphia Safe Return Home Program is up and running and going. If you've left the Philadelphia prison system within the last year or year and a half during COVID, you're entitled to some things. So you need to reach out to Looking Forward program, but cell phones, laptops, food gift cards, sanitation kits, they're all free 95. So please reach out to us and let us know that you've come home. We want to welcome you home and see how we can better support you. That's also, I want to let you know that I'm chipping away. I've gotten so many letters from men and women behind the walls over the last few months during COVID. They've been writing, asking questions about where they can get support when they come home. And I promise you, I'm getting to all of them. So if you're listening inside the walls up on State Road or at SCI Phoenix or somewhere in the Commonwealth, please bear with me. I'm getting to you, I promise. And you're all going to get information on how we can support you coming home. So we're going to take a really, really quick break, and we're going to come back, and our good friend Lou Narvaez is in the house. We're going to talk to Lou. So this is Looking Forward Show, and we'll be right back. Welcome to Looking Forward, and there he is. He's actually only a few feet away from me. He's in the other room. We're in the studio taping, and the show's airing from here. But Mr. Narvaez, how you doing?
Thanks for having me here. I'm doing just well, and I'm always grateful to you for giving me the opportunity to educate the community about the parole field services specifically, but the DOC in general. So I thank you. I'm doing well, and I hope this holds true.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And, you've been such a good friend of the show. It's interesting. I always start this segment out, that little break is with a newsbreaker section, a newsbreaker clip, because I'm always counting on you for the news. So give us an update on what's going on behind the walls at the Department of Corrections.
Well, there are many things going on. First of all, as you stated, Secretary Little, George Little, the interim secretary, is now at the helm, and he's doing a great job, and not only carrying on, but enhancing some of the programs that the former Secretary John Wetzel put in place. He had the opportunity to meet with the First Lady, Governor Wolf's wife, and they met with other partners in looking at the needs of women in reentry. And when you look at that in relationship to all that's going on, where we look at all the COVID related issues and a new way of thinking that has been put forth, not just through the DOC, but other organizations and agencies, I think that's pretty innovative. So that's just some of the things. They also looked at launching an interactive where the community people can go online and begin to schedule appointments, look at things of that nature, enhancing that as well. So it's really been some great things going on, just to name a few.
Been following a lot of the men and women as they come home. They're reaching out, some getting released due to COVID, some of the COVID relief that was coming out, and more and more people now are going on probation and parole, maybe getting discharged a little bit early. But what do you see? And we know that your offices in particular, I've been there. I actually used to live in the halfway house, not about a block away, over on Clearfield Street. And I'm curious, there's been continued gun violence and addiction issues throughout the North Philadelphia corridor in particular. And I'm wondering what you're seeing from the grassroots or from the ground level as far as the work that you and your agents are doing.
So let's go to part of the theme of what you had to show about today is post and COVID and pre-COVID and how that's impacted on us. When you talk about the gun violence and violence in Philadelphia in particular, many of our clients that are on parole are actually either the perpetrators or the victims. I mean, when I say many, I'm not talking about a large percentage, but in terms of many, being that we have people from various parts of the cities on parole who become the victims or who become the perpetrators of these crimes. But to our Deputy Secretary, Chris Stevens' credit, he had implemented pre-COVID a mobile parole unit. In other words, our parole division did not close down because of COVID. We modified the way we did business. However, we continued to see people. We continued to offer resources that were available when many of our peers statewide and nationwide actually had to close their offices. All my agents, they have vehicles, they have iPads, they have iPhones, and we're a strong believer, even pre-COVID, that the work must be done in the community. You shouldn't be in the office the majority of your day. As far as the gun violence itself, we have partnered with many criminal justice and law enforcement agencies. We sit on the Philadelphia Police weekly briefing shooting that they have. They have a brief on all shootings through the city. We have partnered with the DEA, the FBI, Homeland Security. We're partnered with many agencies to try to deter some of the violence that's occurring there, because the violence is occurring is no longer just against adults. There are children that are being shot, old people that are being shot. The violence is really out of control. And we're working the best we can with our population to try to give them resources. One of the things we did was look at intensive caseloads. We looked at those individuals who have been determined to be high risk based on their records, and we hired an annuitant who would act in the capacity as a social worker, to work with them to try to get resources to them as well, to try to mitigate them actually recidivating and going back to jail. So there's many things we're trying to do.
Good stuff. I have to tell you, one of the things we talk about often on the show is your call-in that you have. And I know I've participated in it a bunch of times where you actually bring a bunch of men into the room and talk to them about what might happen in the event that they so much as look at the way of a gun or get into some more trouble. And it's pretty, it's really impactful. I know today's show is really about doing time. And I'm curious, you see the men and women mostly when they've left, they're walking out the door. But when people come home, what advice would you give them as somebody that oversees our probation and parole department? What would you tell them in order to be able to, some good advice, some words that they could live by?
Well, first of all, I would tell them be true to themselves. You have to be true to yourself. Parole is and probation. I've worked in both of those fields. Probation and parole It's one of the easiest things to complete if you follow the guidelines you're given. We don't arbitrarily, now there may have been times historically where people were being violated. We're very meticulous and very intentional before we violate someone. The violation is the last tool in the toolkit. So if you have conditions and if you have concerns for your condition as how to satisfy them, then you need to talk with your agent. Now, people may say, well, I can't talk to my agent. We even have numbers posted in the interview areas where you can call anonymously, or you can write complaints. I feel complaints all day long where people complaining about either how they're being treated or why do I have to take this particular condition? I've just got out of jail. Why are you doing this? And I find out when you educate people as to it's a board ordered condition, or what you need to do so that we can, as you work through the process, modify your reporting frequencies. They more or less come in line because it's about sharing information. My organization is transparent. I don't believe in somebody coming. I even taught a new class of cadets. I say to them, everybody that walks through that door is grown up. Everybody is either man or woman and must be treated as such. You must give them the opportunity to succeed and help them to do so. Now, if they refuse to do so, then oh well. Then yes, after you've exhausted every possibility. And that's what I say to the people returning. Listen and take advantage of the thing. Listen and take advantage of the resources given to you. If you have concerns, you can vet it through the chain. If you have concerns with the agent, you can talk to supervisor, you can talk to deputy, talk to director, you can even talk to me. As long as you go through the chain and you try to comply and work with what we give you. But if you don't want to work, then there are places for you to be, and that's okay too, because we're not trying to just arbitrarily put people in jail. What we're trying to do is put them intentionally in the community where they can succeed. But if they're not true to themselves, then they're going to have problems.
So I like you, I believe in transparency, and I believe that men and women that come home, I was talking to a guy today, he said he's been down, almost 11 years, came home, and he said, look, I'm determined I'm never going back in, ever. And I'm going to do whatever I need to do. And he had an issue. And I said, look, just call him, call your PO, call Mr. Narvaez and let him know what the issue is so you can deal with it. Because I think it's hard for you to do anything to fix a situation if you don't know about it. And communication is really the key from both sides. And it's one of the silos you and I have talked about for the last 3 years that we're hoping to break down. That's why we've been so glad to have you on the show since it started, because it is one of the silos in Philadelphia and across the country that we need to really open up and show that, parole officers aren't there out to get you. Well, some of them are, but most of them aren't. But they're really to kind of help you get through the system.
And Jeff, and that's part of the reality. Some people do think it's a got you situation. It really isn't. You have good and bad in everything. You have good and bad in parole, in news reporters, media people, judges, lawyers, the whole litany. But the opportunity is here. If you can take the opportunity as the reentrant to express yourself in a manner where you're not confrontational with anyone, we're going to talk to you. And if you find that you have difficulties being non-confrontational, pick up the phone, write a letter, do something where you can express yourself where you're not putting yourself in a bad place. We're willing to listen and we're willing to work. All my agents know my philosophy is simple. Not everybody belongs in jail. But on the opposite side of that conversation, there are those people who do belong in jail. And it's not our job to just get you, because people get themselves. And that's a whole different conversation. Well, how do you treat people when they go to jail? Because that's another conversation. There are people in jail that would tell you, oh, yeah, that's a bad dude. They stay away from them. Those are people that are in the jails. So there are people that belong there. It's a matter of those that don't. We need to make sure that they can reintegrate back in the community safely.
So true. I mean, 95% plus of those men and women behind the walls are coming home. So right. We really are mindful of that. Lou, it's been great having you on. You've been a great friend of the show, and we really appreciate. Anything else that's coming up on your radar screen you wanted to get out there?
I wanted to share some things because I know part of the topic was COVID. I saw during COVID some amazing things, especially as it goes to pre-vaccine. I saw where we had prisons in quarantine and COs, correctional officers, knowing that they were going to go into an affected area, volunteering to go to prisons where they had no staff to go because of the COVID-19. And this is pre-vaccine. I saw agents where I was down in teams with just maybe 2 people in a whole team that normally be 8 to 10, but they would continue to go to the houses, continue to meet with folks. And I take my hat off to them. And that's pre-vaccine. That's before people know, and with all the uncertainty with the science. So I would really like to take my hat off to staff who continued in spite of COVID to do what needed to be done.
Awesome. Good stuff. Yeah, I think we see that. Even men and women that are behind the walls, we do wish that every correctional officer inside of our prisons gets vaccinated, because I think that makes it more palatable for me to deal with. I asked a question recently to somebody in another state. How many ventilators do they have in their correctional facility? And he just kind of chuckled at me. But the reality is, it's dangerous inside still, and we still have the COVID-19 vaccine to deal with. But we know Pennsylvania and DOC is, they're taking steps to deal with it, and we appreciate that both inside and outside of the walls. And Lou, it's been great having you on. So I want to thank you again for being on the show today, and we appreciate you, and we look forward to having you on again and again, and spend some more time really digging down into probation and parole over the next few episodes. So thank you again.
And I appreciate it. Thank you for having me, and stay safe and well.
There you go.
Thank you.
Lou Narvaez. And we're going to be right back in a second. We got Shuja Moore in the house, Shuja Moore. Looking forward, and welcome. Shuja, how are you? There you go. Turn your volume on.
Let me unmute myself. Yeah, I'm doing well. Shuja Moore.
I'm so glad you're on, and thank you. We go back a little bit, and I was really I was floored the first time we met, just at your passion. But why don't you share a little bit about yourself and the work that you do?
Sure. Well, I first want to say thank you for inviting me on your show. It's an honor, and to even be included with the other people who are on this show. But yeah, we do go back. I used to stalk you. It's one of my favorite stories to tell. When I began to tap into my passion during my reentry, Jeffrey Abramowitz was somebody who I would just follow. He was formerly incarcerated. He was out here receiving media attention and accomplishing a lot of stuff by doing good. And it was one of the things that reminded me of what I wanted to do when I got out. So as I look for job opportunities into the workforce, I knew if I just submitted a resume, people weren't going to really pay me much attention if they did a background check, or once they did the background check. So I knew you would understand the journey, and it took me a while, but wherever you posted that you were, I would pop up there with my one and only suit. And eventually you said, who is this guy? He's always around. And I think you heard me. At one point, you finally heard what I was saying. And yeah, we sat down and we talked, and you've been assisting me in my reentry ever since. So just want to say thank you for that as well.
No, it's my pleasure. I have to tell you, we helped you get placed at CareerLink at a suburban station. And I, to this day, I still walk by and people ask about you and say, how you doing?
Oh, wow.
Because you had such an impact there for the people that you work with, and really impressive. You came home. How long ago? How long have you been home?
So October the 24th will be my 5th year anniversary.
Wow. So we're pretty close. We were I'm home a little over 6. And when you came home, we met a lot of different places, but I was so intrigued by what drove you. And maybe you can share, like, what was it that lit the fire under you?
Oh, well, for me, it was once I understood, that I was dealing with some emotional issues and some traumas in my life, and recognizing that I caused that in other people's lives. Um, it really, caused a lot of embarrassment, disappointment, but at the same time, motivation to embody what I believe restorative justice is, and it's finding the best way to try to repair the harm that you may have caused. And that repairing that harm starts with yourself, and then it can move on to the community.
You have a confidence. I always say confidence breeds competence, and you've got this confidence about you, and you always have this passion. And I know since you've come home, you talked to me about being getting in the movies and film. And so can you share with us a little about the work you do? And then after share a little bit, I want to show people a clip because it's just awesome.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. I'm glad you appreciate it. Yeah, I'm gonna make that movie. I'm definitely gonna make a movie. But right now we have a web series. It's named Walkies, and in my reentry journey, as I searched for how it can have an impact, I knew that media, art, was a form of there's a way that you can reach a mass amount of people. When I think of these issues, the crime statistics and stuff like that. I used to think of how can I make a massive change, and the reality is I'm only one man. We're all only one person, and you really need to hyper focus on your surrounding area and what you can effectuate. But I saw, that's my cat, playing in the background.
No
Um,
worries.
but I saw, or what I realized is not only how much I was influenced by media, movies, and music, but how much others are. So, yeah, I wanted to tell my story, and I wanted to give the platform for other formerly incarcerated people to tell their story. Unfortunately, it sounds like you have a question.
Yeah, I do. So I
Mhm.
just wanted to. Can you tell everybody how you got to walkies? Because people may
Absolutely,
not know the story, the term.
absolutely. Well, so a walkie is it's a term of endearment in prison. It's your best friend, one of your closest confidants. You're always walking together, so that becomes your walkie. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool too because I was recently Saturday night. I was at a wedding with one of my walkies. One of the guys
Nice.
I had done time with. We were able to get together, and he got at his wedding and got
Wow.
married, and we got
Yeah.
to celebrate a little bit. So I want people to hear this, the amazing series that you've been doing. I'm going to show you a clip. So listen to this.
Creditors was trying to take the house. Eviction notices on my door. I panicked. Didn't know what to do. Both my sisters, my niece, and my nephews was living there, so I couldn't let them take the house I grew up in. So I tried to do whatever I needed to do to secure that, as well as my own financial issues I was having with my own family. So I would constantly drive up and down City Line Avenue for days. And I just came to a conclusion, ain't nobody gonna help me out. All right, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna rob a bank. So I drove to City Line Avenue one day with the intentions to do it. I ain't go through it. I said, no, it gotta be something better. A couple days go past, wake up to another eviction notice. All right, it's on.
Wow. So that's the clip for Walkie's episode that you got coming up or that you've already shot. Yeah, who was the young man in the video?
That was Kareem Solo Shamsuddin. That was the second episode of our docuseries. We have 3 released so far. But yeah, that was Solo. It's a personal trainer now, and he was just going through his backstory of what led him to prison.
So these are so impactful because it brings the humanity back. Even to when people do something wrong, we often don't see the rationale, the thinking, like what happened, why you did it. And behind every person that makes a decision, there's choices that are made. And those choices have background, and they have sometimes they go really deep. They go deep into sometimes eviction and poverty and not being able to feed your family. And those are the stories that you're telling. It's not just about what the act was. It's all about what led them to do it and the why, which is also so elusive sometimes for people to understand. So where do these air, and how can people actually watch the walkies? The first few that have been done.
You go to WALKIESFILMS.com. Walkies Films. That's Walk IES Films, plural, filmmaking.com. You can tap in it from there.
That's awesome. Great. So I went to the showing of your the first one.
Screening. The first
the
screening.
first
Yep.
screening that came
That
out.
came out.
And I had the opportunity to see a room full of people, and there was so much love in the room, but I got to meet some really special people. I met your mom and dad.
Yep.
And got to talk to them, and they were like they were just beaming from ear to ear to watch their son, their son's product going out, and people really being so impacted by it. Just amazing. So what lies ahead? Where are you headed?
Okay, yeah, great question. I'm glad you mentioned my parents. Yeah, that was a monumental moment for me to bring things around and have them, so proud. And thanks again for coming out that night. It was a cold night in December of 2019. What's next? I mean, sky's the limit. Again, I'm trying to embody restorative justice. I'm trying to be the change. I want to be a positive example of coming from a more disadvantaged background, but still triumphing over all adversities. But filmmaking. I'm finishing up a documentary on pardons. It's called The Pardon Project. I'm working with Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity. I'm about to get started on a project with Columbia University, so still not going to give too much about that, but continue filmmaking and projects coming out. And then we still have one more Walkies episode featuring Malik Jackson of Malik Jackson Boxing Gym on 2nd Street in Northern Liberties.
Nice.
So stay tuned. Tap into that website, walkiesfilms.com, or you can follow me on social through my first and last name on any platform.
You definitely are somebody to follow, because you're going to make it happen. You already are. And we appreciate all the hard work and everything you're doing in the community with all the just changing the narrative. And that's what it's really about. This is how change happens, by people telling their stories and understand a little bit more about the backgrounds. Shuja, is there, I know you mentioned, are there any other events coming up? I know you're working on this thing with the pardon. I did get to watch the clip of your work with Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity, which is a great organization. And I actually noticed a friend of mine was in one of them, Brandon Flood was in part of it. So is that the goal of that, to educate people about pardons and expungements?
Absolutely. It's to say we have a short-term fix to the issue of mass incarceration, really. But in particular, how people struggle with having a criminal record. One way for people who are deserving is a pardon. It's a process, but this documentary is to teach people about that process and motivate them to try to apply, and also hopefully change some policy as well.
So the show's all about doing time. And I'm curious, like, for the men and women that are coming home that are behind the walls, and what advice would you have for them?
Find who you are. Every day look in the mirror and ask yourself, who am I? Who have I hurt? How have I been hurt? Work on ways of healing yourself, and then tap into your passion. We all have a genius inside of us. Find yours and continue to develop it and work on that, because you will be released. And when you are released, you want to contribute to society.
Yeah, one of my favorite words is the word flossom. And it's, with all the flaws that we have as human beings, that deep down inside, we're all awesome. We just got to find it. And a lot of people struggle with that, both behind the walls and as they come home. So, but you definitely are awesome, and you figured it out. So thank you. I'm hoping you're going to stay on the show with us, because I want to come back to you in a little bit and talk, but I'm going to move on to our next guest from the Institute for Community Justice. We're really excited about having Gina Mancarelli and Michael Butler on. So we'll be back. This is Looking Forward Show. Back and Looking Forward, and welcome Gina and Michael. How are you guys?
Hey there, doing well.
Good. It's great to see you both. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man.
We mentioned when we were beginning the show, behind the scenes before we kicked off, that you definitely get best dressed of all of us today. So congratulations on that. You get the
Thank
award
you.
and the plaque and the gift card in the mail.
Cool.
But I wanted to there you go. So Institute for Community Justice. I'm a huge fan. You'll hear why in a little while. But why don't you guys tell us a little bit about what ICJ is and what work you do?
Take it, Mike.
All right, so the Institute for Community Justice, man. We're a reentry organization. We're nonprofit, and we just deal in a holistic way of an individual, from front to end, and that's just what we want to do here. We just want to support the process of reentry, from people that definitely had been impacted by mass incarceration, because everyone needs to come home to a community, and everyone needs to come home and be connected to services.
So the work that you do is it's not just, you say reentry, but you guys you really dig down deep. I mean, you have programming on site and you have all these different kind of workshops. So if I walked in your door at ICJ on Chestnut Street, what kind of programming is available for me there? I just came home yesterday.
All right, so we have job readiness programming, we have anger management, we have mental health, we have it all here at ICJ. So whether that's getting you a job, whether that's family reunification, um, whatever it is that you need, we try to get it done. And if we don't have it in here, we'll definitely try to get you connected to that service.
So it's more than that too. Last Saturday, I was able to go and attend an event you guys ran at Vox School or the community center, and you had a part in an expungement clinic for the community, which is kind of awesome. People walked in, met with a lawyer, figured out whether they were eligible or not, and walked out. And then you did something above and beyond that, which was really cool. You invited me, and you had a whole bunch of reentry organizations there that said, "Hey, look, we can help you get back to work," right? And there were some great players there. I know CEO Center for Employment Opportunities was there. You had SEPTA was there actually, which is kind of cool. NCIA was there, a training place. You had all these different places. PCCI was there. PTTI was there. Philadelphia Technician Training Institute was there. So it really is a holistic approach to reentry. It's really looking at what are the supports you need, how can we do it. So Gina, what's your job and what do you do at ICJ?
Hey, so I'm the program support and administrative coordinator here at ICJ, and my main role is to, outside of our reentry center, any type of programming events that we have, I help manage that, spearhead it. For example, like with the art gala that we have coming up, kind of spearheading that event. I'm also an assistant to our director, Asada Thomas. I'm still helping out with a lot of the administrative coordination around that. It's become very wearing different hats and being there for my colleagues and being there for the director, and supporting any event that we have, really.
Awesome. So we should have full disclosure here, shouldn't we? Because the truth is that Asada Thomas, who is director there, Asada is head of the Philadelphia Reentry Coalition, and I vice chair, and she's the chair of the coalition. So we work very closely together, and I think so highly of ICJ, and I think tremendously of Asada, and she's been not only a colleague but a friend during all this, and we work together really well. So it's great to be partnering and able to share. You mentioned something that's really interesting to me is you do have a art project coming up, and I was hoping maybe you guys could explain a little about what it is and when it's going to be running.
So it's called The Art is Resistance, and basically we just want to showcase art panels and empowerment, and as we take back control of ourselves, of society, because COVID has been such a terrible thing in our society. We just want to take some control back, but we also want to showcase that people behind the wall, as well as people that are home now that have been impacted by mass incarceration, that we still have things that we can give to society, and we just want to showcase that talent that exists in everyone. I believe Suja, and you spoke about it. You called it flawsome. Recognizing that we all have flaws, but that we are awesome in our own ways. So we'll be having an art gala that's from October the 25th to the to the 30th. But inside of that as well, we'll be having a few panels. We'll have a panel on social justice, basically, talking about the things going on in our environment, our society, with the gun violence, with the policies, with policing, etc. And then we'll have a panel on reentry, and we tapped into the one and only famous Jeff Obamowicz to kind of be on that panel to kind of give some of his expertise to that. And we'll just be talking about how to create a smoother pipeline, how to talk to certain agencies, and how we all can work together to make this system a lot better and a lot more friendly to people coming home and navigating this world.
So what you guys don't know about me is that while I was away, one of the things that I started to do, and I tried a lot of things while I was away. Like I changed oil on cars, and I was taking brake pads off and driving forklifts and all this crazy stuff. But one of the things I also did was I got into art, and I started painting while I was away. So I was trying to get on that panel, that art specialty panel, so you could see my work. But we'll save that for another day. I did bring some of it home, and I'm not very good. I'll admit that. I have a hard time coloring within the lines, but I did give it a shot. And what I found was, honestly, is that when I painted and when I spent time doing art inside, that time flew. Yeah. And when you're in prison, making time go faster is this miracle of miracles, because it can't go fast enough for you, right? So the work that people do in expressing themselves and sharing their thoughts and is really impactful for everyone. So thank you for doing that. So tell us, if we want to go see this art exhibit, when is it and where is it?
So the art exhibit is 1207 Chestnut Street. It'll run from 4 to 8 from Monday to Friday. So Monday 4 to 8, Tuesday 4 to 8, Wednesday, Friday again. Saturday it'll be from 12 to 5. So you'll be able to come down. You can register on Eventbrite for our opening ceremony, which is October the 25th. You can go on our website, ICJ, on Instagram and Facebook, and click our link, or just go into our profile, and you can scan the code right there on our page and sign up for these events. So I'll be posting all week, and just look at us on Instagram, and you'll be able to come through and enjoy your time with us.
So you guys work directly with those that are impacted firsthand. You're what I call the people on the line. You're on the front line, and you see men and women as they come home. What would you say what advice would you give people as they come home after doing some time, or even for those that are listening behind the walls? Because we do have an audience behind the walls that listens up on State Road in Phoenix. What do you want them to know about the journey when they come home?
Well, I'm gonna talk about it because I know it firsthand. I think that we just first have to have a plan, and we have to know that even during that plan that you have when you come out, you just have to persevere. You can't derail. You can't go off the track. You have to just stay there. This world is new. It's faster. It's a lot of technology out here, and we just have to learn how to use it and how to maneuver it. I think that coming from behind a wall into society is always going to be a hard transition, and you just have to make sure you stay positive, and make sure you just use the resources around you and lean on people. I think that's the number one thing that we could do is create a circle that we could lean on that is just going to be positive to help us along the way. That would be my advice to give to people. That's about it. That's what I used.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Yeah, similarly, I would add that we're robust advocates for ourselves, and that when coming home, it can be really difficult sometimes to advocate for yourself and to be okay with accepting help and to reach out to people. And that in itself is being an advocate for yourself, asking questions, going out there and putting yourself out there. And it can be very difficult. There's a lot of barriers that society puts in place. And such as ourselves as an agency, we are there for people for any help that they need in navigating resources and wherever they need help from. So just being an advocate and reaching out, and that's what I think is some good advice for people.
Awesome. So I want to give you both thank you so much. Just one last one. If somebody comes home and they want to reach ICJ, where do they call and where are they going? What's the address or phone number they can reach out to?
So the address is 1207 Chestnut Street. We're on the corner of 12th and Chestnut here in Philadelphia. Our phone number is 215-525-0460. And you can go on our website at icjphilly.org. You can also follow us on Instagram at icjphilly.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for being on the show. Hang in there. We're going to get back to you for before we wrap up. But our next guest today is going to be Dominic Sampson from Unite Us, and we'll be right back with Dominic. Forward show, and again we're on Philly Cam TV live streaming on Xfinity, Vios, Roku, Apple TV, and YouTube and FaceTime, and we are here with Dominic Sampson. Dom, how are you?
Doing well, Jeff. How about yourself?
You're good. So I gotta tell you, that white background, it almost looks like if you turn sideways that we could take a little mug shot of you. But
oh man, no.
I know.
I'm in my kids' room. This is the only place I got.
There you go.
That's getting secluded, working from home life.
Good enough. So Dom, tell us a little bit about who you are and the work you do.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Jeff. I am currently right now senior community engagement manager working for Unite Us, and I'll jump into what we do in a minute. But who I am specifically, I'm a native of North Philadelphia. I grew up around 25th and Somerset, spent most of my career in adult life working in, a social and community facing roles, from community banking with PNC to parent and community organizing with Mastery to doing some outreach work with Drexel. And all those experiences led me really to Unite Us, which kind of melds my passion of community and public health with my just core interest of technology.
Awesome. So I appreciate that you're from North Philly, because I think it's hard oftentimes for people to get into work in the social service sector when they're not specifically from this area. Like, the hood, where things happen, you lived it, you were there. And I appreciate that a lot. And thank you for sharing. How is it you landed at Unite Us though?
I wish it was a straight path, but it really was back to my own core story, just kind of growing up in North Philly with the network I had around. So when I think about a network, and what we do here at Unite Us is create what we theme as coordinated care networks, is I've always had guidance, whether that be, family and friends that I saw go off to college. I had things like my father being in the home, right? Things that's oftentimes we take for granted, but in hindsight, were really things that shaped me to wanting to be in positions where I work in the community. And frankly, I never wanted to be in an office, right? I've never had an office job, even working in the bank. I was out in the field. I like talking to people, communicating, and really understanding what's happening at a ground level, because I believe that's where the most impactful change happens. And so I've been lucky enough throughout my career to kind of, I don't want to say stumble, but I think all those pieces in place have led me to a position
we call it divine intervention. That's what we call it, divine intervention. So Unite Us came to me through a good friend in Austin, Shelly McAllister, who worked for Unite Us, and her husband Doug, Doug Smith and I were Just Leadership Fellows in New York. And Shelly reached out and said, look, you should contact Unite Us. And I did. And we started talking about what we could do with this. And Unite Us, and why don't you explain what it is so people understand what Unite Us does?
Yeah, absolutely. So Unite Us is a social determinants of health technology company whose aim is to really leverage technology to improve community health and the outcomes across the United States, to create what in United speak we call coordinated care networks, but in reality is just more equitable communities. So we partner with all entities entities that are invested in community health. So think churches, schools, hospitals, food pantries, mental behavioral health organizations, local and government agencies, right? And we organize them all on one platform, our software, so that we turn every entity or organization in the community an entry point into critical services. So think a mom who may be struggling with employment, by having that trusted relationship with with her child's teacher or counselor, the Unitas platform allows for them to be connected easily to another provider that might fall out of the purview of a school who is dealing with so many other things to now have to take on the mantle of employment services for their parents. But as we know, most of community health happens in the social in the social space. So how can we help bolster what schools and churches and barbershops already do so well, and then also by giving them a platform to really connect the people they serve to other critical services.
Yeah, I think of you guys as like the ultimate dating service for social services. You can get connected just to that anyone you need until you get that perfect fit of the service that you need. And it's this platform that's just incredible. But when we started a discussion, I was like, well, I'm not sure, like reentry, how we get in the criminal justice world, could we best used it? And we were able to, in August, we launched the Reunite Us campaign in Philadelphia, which is really bringing together all these reentry organizations that provide services and doing the same exact thing, just helping people network and being able to do handoffs so that people were getting better services. Why don't you talk a little about the work that was doing here in Philadelphia?
Yeah, so thank you for that. And the Reunite Us platform, as you know, we just want to send our thanks to you because you were instrumental in thinking through that process. But I start there because I had a basketball coach a long time ago, go where the energy is, and meeting you had the energy and a passion for this work, and listening to what Mike just said about just making sure that we are wrapping our arms around folks and giving them a leg to stand on, somebody to lean on. What better place than folks who were formerly incarcerated that are now dropped off into the same communities that sometimes mental behavioral health issues are worse than before, right? Employment opportunities have dried up. They're in the same social context with the same friends, and there's a line, essentially once your stomach get the rumbling, right, things start happening that might not necessarily coincide, right? So how about we coordinate all the organizations that really service this population and get them access to Unite Us platform in order to do just that, right? Make every organization an entry point into these coordinated services, and by way of tracking those outcomes, helping us to identify the gaps in our community, also highlighting the strengths in our community, and from there build out so we can reduce recidivism overall in the city and across the state.
Yeah, just imagine if we had Unite Us or Reunite Us campaigns throughout the entire country, just connecting people to services with direct handoffs right when you need it. You need shelter, here's where you go. You need addictive support, here's where you go. You need a suit for that job interview, here's where you go. And we're doing it here in Philadelphia. If people wanted to get involved, where would they turn to? Like, how would they find out about Unite Us?
Yeah, a couple different ways. So I'll start with my phone number. My direct number is 267-698-3594. And I give that because we are, in the way we organize and engage with communities, we hope to be thought partners. So you can find me again at 267-698-3594. But if you want to learn some more and get some more context to the work we're doing, you can go to pennsylvania.unitus.com, where you can actually learn a little bit more and, see some materials that give some more context to the work we do and how we do it, not only in Pennsylvania, but across the country.
Awesome. So thank you to Unite Us. Thank you to you for all your work you're doing. This is a game changer to me. This is the kind of thing that can go and will go viral for sure. It's going to go viral at some point where everyone's going to say, we need to be part of this platform. We need to be able to use it to get services out. And we really appreciate the vision of Unite Us and your staff. So I thought when we started this project that it would be you and I, and maybe somebody that would be assist. I get on these phone calls with you, and you got your whole team from all over the place on this call. Unite Us really threw so much support behind this project in Philadelphia that all 35 1,000 of you that are on our calls for meetings and stuff, all have an expertise in getting a project launched. And it's been great working with you. And we're looking forward to really continuing to build a really great network here in Philadelphia. So thank you for all that.
No problem. Thank you.
There you go. So we're gonna we got a few minutes left, and what I'd like to do now is I want to actually bring people back in, and I want to have this discussion. So I'm going to add a bunch of our guests in here now, and we're gonna. I know Mr. Narvaez had to pop out. He's got some work to do, and I understand that. And I think Shuja might have had to jump, but that's okay because I got the people that really can give us some information here. I want to have a discussion about doing time. So doing time, in the community, we're recognizing the reality that sometimes people make those choices that lead them somewhere, and sometimes it's not a good spot, right? It goes behind. But I do believe in destiny. I think that things happen for a reason in this world. It's our job to kind of figure it all out. And we talked to you guys all gave some great advice about people that are behind the walls and coming home. And now I want to turn it and flip it on its head a little bit, because I think that, I'm really mindful. My daughter's getting married in a few weeks. I'm excited about that. And I'm also really mindful of the fact that my daughter went to prison with me, not physically, but she went through the trauma, and my family went through the trauma of going away. And I'm curious, like, Michael, you said something earlier about families and reuniting families in this whole journey. Can you talk a little about, what advice you would give family members that often see their loved ones struggling to try and find their way?
I think what family members need to realize is that, when you go inside, you change from the person that you were before, even in the dynamic of the family unit. So I think that my advice would be to just let them grow. Don't try to force them. Just be there for them, support them, and let them, become the person that they transition into. Because the person that we turn into inside, it takes us time when we get home, because of just transitioning into society and trying to find yourself. You kind of lose some of the things that you've worked hard on. So just no forcing, just be there, supporting your loved one, and helping them along the journey.
Yeah, great advice. Great advice. So, Gina, we'll go to you next, because Dom, I got a different question for you. But Gina, what would you say, and how would you want to get what advice would you give to family members?
What advice I would give to family members?
Yeah.
My advice would be have patience with the family member who's coming back, or if you have a friend coming in. Everyone's experience is going to be different, but if anyone who's been to prison and comes home, like Mike said, everything changes. You become a different person, and having patience for that individual as they're growing into the new identity and growing into who they are going to be and what their next steps are, it's going to take some time. And it's interesting. It's like a time where it's like we're saying doing time, and then it comes home, we're also doing time again, almost, of having to re-enter society and going back into this world that we might not be as familiar with anymore. And so family members need to have a lot of patience and understanding and asking questions, and not assuming either what their family member needs coming home either, because everyone's needs are different. And so I think just having patience and kindness and a willingness to listen is important.
Yeah, for sure. I was with somebody recently, said, Mr. A, you won't believe this. I just got home and they took me out for dinner, and they took me to this really fancy steak place. And I haven't eaten meat in 15 years. He said, what I really wanted was I wanted some good fried chicken somewhere. And he said, I didn't have the heart to tell them, so I went along with the ride. But yeah, asking questions of people that have come home and really engaging them and saying, what do you need? I often find a lot of frustration from men and women coming home that they want to do everything. They come back all energized. They want to do everything at one time. And they kind of, you need an elephant one bite at a time, right? And you have to kind of take steps, and it's a process. And I always tell them, just accomplish one big thing a day or one small thing a day. Just do one thing a day, and that thing piles up, right? And it really makes a big dent. So Dom, I'm curious from your end, a little bit about the reality of resources. resource sharing and getting people connected to resources. That's kind of your game. You've been doing this in Philly now since we launched the last, 6 or 7 months. You probably have met more people in the reentry sector than I think anybody could humanly meet because you're trying to get them engaged in this platform, right? So what are you seeing out there? Is there help out there for people coming home?
Oh man, I was thinking about this even before you asked the question, but short answer, yes. Just a quick aside, when I first started here at Unite Us, I was working on a team that was doing a lot of work in rural Virginia in places where there was one community center and two schools and one church. And then when I come to Philly, where I'm from, the wealth of knowledge and people doing so many things. So the answer is there is a lot of positivity and momentum in this city and the surrounding areas to really do something different and really change a lot of people's lives. Meanwhile, also changing the community. So I'm definitely, I'm definitely, what's the word I'm looking for, Jeff? I'm
A
definitely,
believer.
yeah, right. I'm
As a
encouraged is the
believer
word
now.
I'm looking for. I'm
There you
encouraged by
go.
the work that we're doing in the city, and I'm always excited to come and meet new people and learn of the different things that are happening in the community at a given time. So, for anybody
Awesome.
out here that feels like it's overwhelming, there are people out here, great organizations like ICJ and plenty others. So, part of my core role here is just to really build those bridges between those organizations and get things rolling.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for all the work you're doing. Just real quick, Tom, if we want to get Unitas, what's the website in order to
Yep,
get
it's
some more information?
pennsylvania.unitus.com. You can also just go to unitus.com, and my phone number 267-698-3594.
Good deal. Michael, just winding us up, Michael, if you want to get to ICJ, where are we going?
We're going to 1207 Chestnut Street, 19103. I believe 19107. I'm sorry. I believe is the zip. Second floor. We're on the second floor, right in Center City. It's pretty cool location. You can also hit us on our website at www.icj.com, and you can get us that way as well. You can also hit me on 267-562-2006. That's my number. I'm always available if you need something. Hit me up.
There you go. We love it. So Gina, give us, where's the mural arts? Where's the mural project and the art project that's coming up? Where can we see it?
It's all at our agency, right at ICJ, 1207 Chestnut.
Love
So
it.
as soon as you walk in, you'll be led up to the elevator, go up the stairs, the second floor. And as soon as you walk in and get off the elevator, it's going to be right there. You're going to see, don't want to give any secrets away, but we have some really cool exhibits there that we're creating. And I think about at least 50 or more pieces that will be there.
Yeah, I'll be dropping my artwork off later tonight
Cool.
as soon as I get a chance, so you guys can prominently display it right when everybody walks in. I think people will be walking in, walking out pretty fast, though. So, but thank you all for being on today. So, Dom, thank you. Michael and Gina, thank you for all the work you do. You truly are community, making community care, and I'm really proud to be working with all of you, and Chuje included, and also Mr. Narvaez. These are people that are changing the community. So we got about a minute or two left, and I'm going to pop everybody out for a second because I want to talk a little bit about a few things that are coming up that I think should be important for you to try and get to. As I said, this is here at PhillyCam, and PhillyCam staff have been just remarkable. Everyone from Debbie and Roland and Allison, they've been so supportive of all the work that we do here, and they really help guide us through the process of getting the show on the air. But I want to also mention that this is, in fact, community media as Community Care Week month, and we've been doing a lot of great events throughout the month. I know tomorrow is Community Media Day, October 20th, and it's a celebration of voices and awareness. And I know we'll be doing a remote broadcast right from the studio and showing clips from radio shows. So congratulations on that. And if you can tune in tomorrow, please do. It's going to be an unbelievable event. And then there's a block party coming up. PhillyCam Anniversary Block Party is October 23rd. Make sure you check it out. There's going to be a lot of really cool events there. And again, a chance to really show your support for Philly Cam, just an unbelievable place to change the narrative. And that's what's been happening. So I want to end with this. Doing time is not easy. It's not easy for the men and women that are behind the walls. And it's also not easy for those family members that are also going through it. I want you to know that the people that were on the show today are living testament of how much can be accomplished when you put your mind to it and when you want to get back on the right track. And their family that can support you, but more importantly, or as importantly, there's community out there that can support you along the journey in making sure that you have opportunity. The world's a changing place now, and I wish for everyone that you have the energy that the folks have that are on this, that we're on today, doing the work that they're doing and making change happen. So thank you for the Looking Forward show, and we're going to see you in a few weeks. So it's Jeff Abramowitz. Take care, everybody.